for me, the goal is not that you saw the color or you read the thing in the book or you saw what was in the room. The goal is to expand the self and realize what's possible and start to strengthen and normalize those muscles, if you want to call it that, so that then they can be used more easily and more naturally for all kinds of functions.
For thousands of years, Buddhist monks have done this, gone into dark caves. It's become a popular thing at the moment. The intention to cover up the eyes and yet still see externally. My curiosity with this is because for me personally, I don't have an intent to cover my eyes and then see as I see. I have more intent to see what I don't see. So in Qigong, we're perceiving energy, we're perceiving the negative space. What practice is the negative space? Negative space artists call the surrounding space of an object. So it seems in every demonstration of Qi demonstration, meaning the paranormal abilities, it's all about consciousness having an intent that is connected to with all the variables lining up, and then we have the external mirroring the internal intent. Regardless where you put that. You put that in making your breakfast in the morning, you put that in the good wish you send your children out to play with, you put that in covering your eyes and intending to be able to see, you put that in wanting to move an object from a distance. Whatever that clear intent is that you've connected to with everything else aligned seems to be the underlying driving force fueling these abilities. So I know that you have experience, you have the capacity, you've trained to see, covering up your eyes, and you can see as you normally would without covering up your eyes. But you also talked to me about seeing this key space as well. And you've also mentioned remote viewing, so seeing. And I've heard others that practice saying, well, I have the intention that it goes on straight away. I have the intention to look from the back. I have the intention. So for me, I'm not looking at it as a skill of seeing without the eyes. I'm looking at it as an intent to see without the eyes, an intent to see somebody in another country, to see what's inside the closed, sealed box. What's your experience with that?
Yeah, so I tend to see things a lot in terms of like physics, and also I see a movie all the time in my mind, like a screen that's showing me, but it's not like I'm looking at a screen, it's like I'm like in it, right? And what I'm being shown like right now is that, for example, people have talked about this before, that it's like we're like a radio, and whatever we look for through our senses, it's like we're tuning in to that GPS location point, if you will, or that frequency, whatever you want to call it, right? So we're like tuning ourselves, even though we're already there, because who we are is the infinite, eternal, quantum supercomputer, whatever you want to call it, the one. Okay. But we're existing in this body in a certain type of program that it's necessary to block out the rest of it for survival purposes, right? so that we can function in a human body. If we saw everything, if we knew everything, we'd probably spontaneously combust immediately, right? If we felt all the pain, all the bliss at the same time, this human form would likely not be able to contain it. And that enlightenment is not somewhere that you go where everything is just happiness and bliss, and that it's literally like the experience of all existence, which means compounded time in the eternal now, which includes the lowest frequency to the highest, the biggest expansions to the biggest contractions, right? So in the realm of blindfold seeing, when we cancel out different senses of the 5 sense organs that most people are familiar with, we have many more actually. Steiner says we have 12. Different traditions say we have many more than that. We have a sense of balance, we have a sense of gravity. There's so many things, right? But when we limit certain senses, what it does is allows us to focus in on something else, right? So for example, right now there's a cicada. Can you hear it in the background?
Cicada? Yeah.
Cicada.
I had to work out what
you hear it. Can you hear it in the sound? Okay. So what happened was I'm speaking to you and I hear the cicada, and then my chi is now going to the cicada, right? So if we recognize that wherever attention goes, chi flows and energy attunes to that, right? So if we put ourselves in a sensory deprivation tank and we're not being distracted or led to something by sound or by feeling in our bodies, like if we're in a tank with water, right? Then we can more easily focus in on whatever it is that we're interested in. And that makes it more easy to tune into the subtle realms, right? Because they're not as easy to pay attention to because they're not obvious to the 5 senses, right? It's not like most people are not hearing voices or seeing energies like right in front of them. Most people, some people are. So that's what's so beautiful about the blindfold seeing, is that it within seconds, you don't even need a blindfold. Look what we were made with. Boom. I'm in total darkness just with my palms, right? And of course, when we close our eyes, we limit out a certain amount of light. And so you can go to a certain depth just with our eyes closed, right? But this allows us to go into different spaces. And some people, they get introduced to this and they get excited to realize that they can actually see what's in the room in front of them, right? And I think for some people, that's a safe kind of baby step process to the more unseen world. It could be possibly traumatic and quite shocking if someone put the blindfold on and suddenly they were hit by a bolt of lightning and they went into samadhi, or they had a kundalini awakening, or they felt themselves as the entire universe, and it could be overwhelming. So for people who are ready for that and they're looking for that, the chi, like, they say in the Tao, if you follow the Tao, you're following the chi that's moving you. You're moved by the Tao. It's not like you are doing something. It's the chi that is moving you, right? So like this idea of me doesn't even exist. Like it appears that I have a body, right? But it's not mine. Who is me? It's only an idea in the mind. Everything is energy, right? So for those people like ourselves that are moved to experience these other realms, when we put a blindfold on, we're like, I think of us in terms of kind of like a space explorer who's like getting their helmet and they're like, okay, here we go. And we're like immediately ready to go on that adventure, right? So when
just
we
by
put the
chopping
blindfold
the
on,
sense off.
yeah, so when we put it on, we can go anywhere. And when you know that you can go anywhere because you are all existence and non-existence, then the process can go a bit faster without all the other distractions of what appears to be solid physical matter around us, right? And when we put on the mask, it immediately, when you put your hands over your face or you put on the mask, or you put a heavy blanket on you, you block out sound, put on sound blocking. We know from science that this immediately affects the nervous system, right? It allows the nervous system to regulate, to calm, which tells the brain there's no threat, right? Which tells the brain we're safe. And when we get that signal, our energy field is able to open bigger, right? And our heart and our magnetic field is able to intensify.
Yeah.
So there's multi-functions to how these things can help in the physical, can help in the unseen, in the Shen world. It's so wonderful. It's multi-dimensional, multifunctional, practical. Yeah.
So what about, do you see a distinct difference, or would you see it as encompassing? For example, if you set your intention or not, perhaps you don't need to do that. There comes a time where, it's not necessary. You have the intention, or you think, I'm going to send the consciousness not to any sounds, not to any visions, not to any smells, my limited 5 senses of the body, or however many. I'm not going to engage them. I'm going to use consciousness, sixth sense, whatever label you want to give it. And this limitless thing that we have, that we're all connected to. Would you say that this blindfold trend of covering the eyes and still seeing is the same thing as the intention of the consciousness to do whatever other thing we challenge it to do? And I say challenge only because it's not the normal seen thing to do. It's not a part of our social reference system. It's not if I look out my window, kids aren't walking around with blindfolds on, or people aren't levitating through the air. They're not walking on water. It's not part of my what I'm seeing in my neighborhood. So these things that little by little humanity is discovering or rediscovering, that we're consciousness, we have this unlimited ability to do things. Would you say that the trend of covering the eyes and seeing without seeing as usual but with a blindfold on, would you put that in the same category as other expressions of consciousness, such as moving objects, levitating, just things that we're not used to seeing? Would you put that in the same category? Or
I like to joke that blindfold seeing, I call it the gateway drug. It's like there is such a thing as open eye meditation. But most people are familiar with meditation. They usually think about people with closed eyes, or
yes.
a monk in a cave, or a monk in a dark room, right? So we know that when we go to sleep and the lights are off, right? That depending on if it's complete darkness, we have more access to melatonin and DMT production, and access to the pineal gland functioning, right? When we put on the blindfold, it does allow our pineal gland to receive different quality of light, which allows it to activate. So a lot of people generally only activate and make DMT during certain hours of the night if they get specific sleep cycles with a certain amount of darkness. Uh, but other people will access it during the day if they have a very profound experience. We can produce it, right? So what I have found is when we cover the eyes and block out all the light, um, we can access that DMT very quickly, depending on how much we're able to surrender and expand our field, right? So this is not everyone will have the same experience when they put on the blindfold. It's very unpredictable. And I wouldn't say that a spiritual person will have a more profound experience than just an average mainstream person. It's very interesting how unpredictable the experiences have been that I've seen people have. So I feel that the blindfold seeing is like an amazing adventure that increases our ability to access all of these other cities or paranormal experiences or psi experiences. It intensifies our ability to sense and to recognize ourselves as something other than the personality and the body and what is normally experienced by the five senses. So I carry two blindfolds with me at all times, everywhere I go, because I like to put them on anywhere. And when people see me with them on, they immediately are curious and they want to try. And they notice within seconds their whole consciousness shifts, their nervous system shifts, and they open, they feel more open, and they stop identifying so much with all the ideas and the tactile things around them, right? So I feel that it is a very supportive thing in a basic sense, but also an opportunity to go into places that are much more unbelievable than even the things that people do, like levitation or moving objects with the mind or bilocation or to me, those abilities seem kind of like a lower level, like a not as profound. Because the places you can go with the blindfold are unspeakable and life-changing. And all those other abilities can become more sort of normal. Like the first time you move a psi wheel, it's miraculous. But then you do it over and over and over and over, and suddenly it just kind of becomes like breathing or walking, right? And any ability can become like that. It can become like second nature, right? But going into total dissolve of the self and where there's no fear, there is no self, there is no ego, there is no attachment. I don't know of anything more profound and more powerful than that state. Yeah. And this is possible with the blindfold. So
Beautiful. You know what? I actually got my blindfold arrived. Remember I said I'm going to get a blindfold?
yeah.
Should we play? Should I grab my blindfold and maybe because you know how I shared with you, I don't have the intention of seeing objects as I normally see them.
Sure.
I know that you have experience behind you in this type of field and your own experience to draw on. I'd be curious if I just put it on and if you know my intention isn't to look at things, it's to look you know where I'm coming from. I'm
Yeah,
interested in the life beyond this physical realm.
right.
Perhaps I put the mask on and I just listen to your voice, and you can guide me if you
Yeah,
want
or
to.
we can just do the whole interview with you with the blindfold on.
Get my mask and let's just see what happens. Do you want to?
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah. Should we both be blindfolded?
Well, that could be a really interesting experiment, because that would be a really fascinating experiment, actually. Because if
Yeah,
you are experiencing something and you guide me to experience what you're experiencing, or, you know, I don't
yeah.
know. I,
There
you,
there
I
are
trust your judgment.
very, very profound things that can happen when two beings have the blindfold on. You can take it
Wow.
into every aspect of your life, including the bedroom or the anywhere. You know, the experience that you can have between a mother and a child, a friend, a lover, a teacher. I mean, it allows you to experience the subtle realms
Mm.
that can allow for a deeper connection because you know our nervous systems regulate how much electric biophotons can flow, right? And so when our nervous system feels more safe and relaxed, we have potential for much more charge to commune between people. Yeah. And with the everything around us, the
Yeah.
nature, the animals, the elementals can feel the wind more. You can I often will put the blindfold on in a restaurant and I will eat my food with the blindfold on. And
I
I'm
love
telling
it.
you, the food tastes amazing.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
You
Okay, in Bali,
can taste it more.
we're gonna eat in a restaurant with it.
We
Okay, I'll
have
try. I'll
friends that drive with the blindfold on in parking lots. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but you know, when children do the blindfold seeing, they are able to do things better than they are without the blindfold on. They
try.
can learn to juggle. When they take the blindfold off, they struggle to keep juggling. They put it back on, they can do it again. They're able to ride a bike, do art, play games, and do schoolwork. And their brain works better. Their coordination is better. Their senses are stronger. They perceive colors, smells, everything more intensely. They're able to enjoy and take in a fuller spectrum. You know, because the human body is designed to take in specific spectrum of light, of frequency, of sound, all of these things, right? Uh, but we are capable of taking in more. And the blindfold really gives us access into those abilities as well. So
It's such a
it's pretty cool.
confirmation, isn't it? It's such a confirmation when we're acting from our true self state, we're
Mhm,
more capable of everything, you know?
mhm. Yeah. It's interesting to notice when people do things unconsciously that actually block out the light from their eyes. Like you'll see
Mm,
people close their eyes, like nod their head or bring their head down, or they'll be talking to someone and they'll feel something deeply and they'll scrunch their eyes like if they're like, oh, it felt so amazing, and then they like scrunch
mm,
up their eyes and what are they doing when they do
mm,
that?
mm,
They're re-experiencing a memory or a
mm.
feeling, or maybe they're having a dream and they're explaining their fantasy to someone and they're like, oh, it's gonna be amazing, and they like clench their
Yeah,
fists in excitement. They squinch their eyes, and children do it all the time, right? And you'll
yeah.
see people like rub their eyes where they're like, or they'll like, sometimes they'll put their face in their hands, and, children do these things very naturally. So it's
Mm.
instinctual to us to block the light out, to tune into things that we don't tune into with our eyes open. But uh I think that once people get really practiced at the blindfold, especially small children, I think it's possible to have a lot of these experiences even with the eyes open. And
Mm.
that's something that happens when we can soften the gaze, right? It's a similar
Absolutely.
kind of thing, right? Softening the gaze is a similar thing to putting the blindfold on. Like, you can do remote viewing with your eyes open. I see sometimes like layers and layers and layers of what looks like a movie, like many, many, many movies all going at the same time. And I can see that while I'm still looking at someone and talking to them. And how is that possible? You know? So what people think from schooling is like the brain and thoughts and where do thoughts come from? The top brain scientists now will tell you they don't really know. They don't really know, how do we make images in the mind? Where does it come from? What part of
Yeah.
us is actually seeing, you know?
And this, for me, as a practitioner of Qigong, and not just Qigong, prior to Qigong, yoga and other disciplines that are from the ancients, these things that ancient traditions are saying, it's like science is slowly coming to see that. So it feels funny talking to you with to take it off. I was really
Yeah,
enjoying it. I was enjoying it. Wow, that was a quick shot.
yeah, you'll go fast somewhere else.
But yeah,
Yeah.
as a practitioner of the arts, we learn these philosophies, and little by little, science is saying, oh, yeah, the oneness. We are consciousness. We are a field, not a body.
Yeah.
But then to have these experiences, these demonstrations that we do to exemplify and to give taste of it, because it's one thing subscribing to a philosophy, but it's another
A concept
thing
in the mind, an idea,
of having it
to know
exemplified
it.
in your life.
Yeah.
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 So shall we play?
Yeah. Sure, yeah. For me, uh, like if I were to show you colors, it's not about you being able to see me holding up a color. What is so important is what happens with what opens up inside of you and what you're going to be shown that will be very intense and specific for you, a communication that you get from yourself as the consciousness. Well, it like reveals and guides you and helps you comprehend how to it's like building like muscles. There's different I would say like energetic like chi muscles that get developed when you start practicing the blindfold vision. And so the goal is not, for me, the goal is not that you saw the color or you read the thing in the book or you saw what was in the room. The goal is to expand the self and realize what's possible and start to strengthen and normalize those muscles, if you want to call it that, so that then they can be used more easily and more naturally for all kinds of functions, right? And you're very interested in that aspect. So you want to try playing like that?
Yeah, yeah. I'd enjoy more like even well, you I trust your judgment, but I'm
Yeah,
more interested in remote viewing and perception, psychic perception,
sure.
telepathy, um, more consciousness abilities. I don't have a goal of seeing what's in front of me. I don't have a goal of seeing the objects in front of me.
Well, that's good because I'm not in front of you, am I? Just joking with you. I am actually right in front of you. Um, well, how would you like to go about playing with the mask on? You want a remote view into my room here?
Okay.
Okay. Would you like me to hold something in my hand?
Okay.
Okay. Let me find something that's not, I have so many obscure things in my room. Not even sure if you'd be like, what is this that I'm looking at? Um, let me see. Okay.
Gosh, it's fascinating how, because I can't see, I'm really, I'm drawing on everything else. Like I'm just really listening to your voice and my mind's forming images with your voice of what you look like. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, because all of the senses are actually feeding information into the mainframe computer, if you will. So we actually don't see with our eyes. Most people think that the eyes are what's creating vision, but we know now from, just so you know, I'm holding something in my hand and I'm showing it to you through the camera. Uh, so you, I'm touching it and feeling it. So
Is it?
what,
I do have some things come through. Is it like a raw wood kind of thing? Like an object made out of raw wood with some curved like things with maybe like I don't know, maybe even like a candle holder or something.
oh yes, you're very close. You're very close. It could resemble a candle holder. Would you like, do you like to hear a sound or you want to do it completely
Does
just,
it have some type of raw wood quality that's curved?
it's curved. Yes, it is curved.
Is
And
it multiple curves? Like,
well, what you might be seeing is that there's some circular etching in it. So I think you might be seeing that. I'm holding it really close to the camera now, one part of it, which I think you might have been perceiving that. So I'm like rotating it around so you can really get to know it, like all the different aspects of looking at it.
when when you said I'm rotating it around, then I got a totally different image than what I previously had. Like
Yeah.
previously I had like this raw wooden thing, but then just you said I'm rotating around, and then for some reason I got this image of like a metallic pink kind of metal, sheet metal kind of thing.
Yeah, you got it. It's metal. That's
Really?
100%. Yeah, it's metal. Yeah.
Is it cubish, but not solid, like just sheet metal kind of what's the word where what's the flame that they mold the sheet metal together? Some type of a
So it does have two different metals connected to each other at one point. So it's not just one type of metal. There is like a small piece of a different kind of metal that was like welded onto it.
welder. That's what I was trying to say. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So you're perceiving that, which I showed you really up close in the camera. And you're correct that it is not solid. You said it's kind of like a box, but that was actually consciousness was showing you that it is hollow on the inside. And the first image that your mind thought of was a box, because that's what you associate normally with like hollow on the inside, right? So it is hollow. And I'm turning it around in all different directions so you can really get a sense.
Now I don't have any clues. I don't have any little things telling me anything now. Like
So
my
what
mind's
happens? Yeah, what happens with mindfold seeing is that if the person has too much time, the mind will start to wonder
I got
and
that's what I feel
doubt
like.
and get blocked and then start guessing and then start
Yeah.
the monkey
Yeah.
mind will start going, right? So that's why in training, it's really good when you first start to go quickly
Mm.
and just go through one thing after another thing after another thing and to like show you things and even like tell you this is a red piece of paper that I'm holding up. This is a blue piece of paper.
Okay.
And then go like back and forth between the two, right? And so then what happens is you start to open up and activate the aspect of the self that learns how to see in that way. And that makes it easier and easier to tune in with that ability, right?
Wow. I just had this really clear knowing that actually this is remote viewing. This
Yeah,
is remote viewing. Like
yeah,
there's no separation between seeing, gosh, I can't put it into words, but yeah, it's
yeah. So what a lot of remote viewers do is a lot of remote viewers don't see the full room or the full scene when they do remote viewing. They get like flashes of symbols, of knowings, of feelings, and then they try to like bring it all together into like a drawing with like a bunch of different clues, you know. That's what most remote viewers are doing. Now, with blindfold seeing, you can actually see as if you were standing right there in your actual body. And not only can you can see 360 all the way around. You can see
mm,
far away. You can zoom into things like a microscope. You can zoom back. You can see through things. I mean, it is wild what's possible and what
mm,
people have been doing. And I think that remote viewers were maybe just kind of like baby stepping towards that. But
yeah,
our
that makes
definition of
sense.
remote viewing was actually not the full realization of what it was, right?
Yes.
So we thought before remote viewing is, oh, you tune in and you can get like little pieces. But what I think people didn't realize was, oh, that's blindfold seeing.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
just haven't opened up their full vision yet. So they were just kind of in
Mm,
like the preschool and then they were working towards full opening, right?
wow.
So
I
yeah.
really get that now. Prior to this experience, just this basic, simple experience of putting it actually on and you asking me to tell you what's there and I'm not allowed to use my eyes, just this experience alone, I totally get that, what you're saying. Wow. That I believe that, yeah, if I keep this up, I will be able to see whatever see is not the right word because we think of see associated with the eyes, but I'll be able to in my mind
Yeah,
see the
so
three.
yeah, so let
Wow.
me explain about seeing. Okay, so what I was saying before was that traditionally we
I'm getting
thought
too
that
sweaty. Sorry.
yeah, no, it's okay, I know. My masks have been cried in and sweated
Oh,
in
oh
and
dear. What was the
dip it in
object?
vinegar eventually. So close your eyes for a second because I want well actually put the yeah, there you go. I want you
The
to
mask on?
feel it when I actually oh
Should
sure,
I
yeah,
put
you can put the mask on. Yeah, put it on. And then we'll take it off in 1 second. Okay, so when you said candle holder, you were very close. And when you said wood, you're also very close because this object has a relationship with a wooden object and they touch each other often. So the programming and the code of the wood is embedded into the object, right? And now you're going to understand why.
Should I look?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's interesting. That wood. Oh, that's the handle. That's the handle I saw. Actually, remember I
Exactly.
said curves? I wasn't seeing the concave. I was seeing those three
Yeah.
outer curves, but they were stacked on top of each other. It was like dun dun dun,
Yes.
and it was raw wood like that. See how it's not painted or
Yes.
varnished?
Yeah, it's very raw. It's very raw. Now, let me explain to
Wow,
you why that's amazing. Because I was only showing you
amazing.
this in the camera. I was only showing you this. Now, this was back on this table back here, but
Ah,
it always sits right next to this bowl, and they have a relationship,
the
right?
information. Oh my
So the
goodness.
information is embedded in the bowl and the sound. And because I was making a sound with it, you're receiving all that information through the sound. So that's what I want to explain about seeing.
Wow.
Uh,
I was seeing the handle of the donga.
you're seeing it, and now it's on video, so you will have this confirmation to yourself to review back later to remind you that you saw that, right? You saw that. So I'll just give you a little
That is
recap of what this looks
amazing.
like.
That is so amazing. And thank you so much for being such a skilled guide to know what was going on, you know?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So let me go deeper into what vision actually is. So 100 years ago, there were actually a lot of scientists who were researching this, and there's a lot of papers and studies that were done about it, how the eyes work, how vision works, what are we actually seeing with. And so what we know now, because of women like the woman in Japan who had, she wrote the book Quantum Speed Reading. I met her when I was 22 years old in 2002 at a private meeting with Masaru Emoto. And I was introduced to her as the woman who runs sort of like a advanced psychic children's school. That's all I knew about it at the time. Now, fast forward to 3 years ago, and I realized from someone else that was a blindfold teacher who is in his 80s, he said, do you know of this woman in Japan who wrote a book called Quantum Speed Reading? And he sent me a video of her and her children. And I was like, oh my God, I met her 20 something years ago and I had no
Oh,
idea who she was. And I had her card and I wanted to study with her, but I didn't even know. So what she discovered, and other people have also discovered this around the world, and there are lots of sort of underground schools and teachers who know about these things, is that we actually can see through all of our senses. So, for example, what these children were doing in this school was you could take a book that they had never seen and knew nothing about. You could blindfold the child, you could bring the book up to them, and you could fan the book next to their ear. Like, you could hear the pages fanning. And through the sound, they could tell you everything about the book, and not just everything about the book and the story, but they could even tell you what, if there was a recipe in the book, what it tasted like, what it smelled like. They could tell you about the author of the book, about their past, about their dreams. I mean, just amazing amounts of information. Then you could take a book and they could lick it. And through the taste, they actually they would see vision, right? So the same thing with smell. They could smell the book. They could rub it on their you could rub it on their skin, okay, and they start to see all these things, right? So all the senses, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching. Then there's like the sense of the intuition, right? So they could just feel into the book without any of the senses, and they could still get the information. So if you think about that, we have more than five senses. All the senses are like uh, machines that take in information, kind of like how the AI is like taking in information, right? Our senses are sending signals and codes and information to the quantum mind, which then produces vision. Just like code makes an image on a computer that you see or on your phone. It's information that creates it. And so the notion of thinking that we see with our eyes is incorrect. The vision is not created by the eyes. It's created by something else that gives us the ability to see something in our mind, and that's translated. So what I was doing with you, and this is an exercise we can go deeper into, like more and more, is like if you close your eyes and so I can work with you to see what type of inner vision you already have going. But what's really cool is to start working with that by giving sensory cues to the mind and seeing what visuals arise, right? So like for example, if I say, okay, so close your eyes for a second. Okay, so see what I'm saying. I'm going to tell you something. I want you to see it. Okay. Purple elephants dancing.
I see a cartoon, like I see a cartoon image of an
Okay.
oversized, only one oversized one, maybe on top of a tiny car or something. And it's supposed to be
Okay. So
dancing. Okay, so I can see some legs going like this, maybe.
there you go. Okay. So uh, now there are purple elephants dancing. There's three of them. They're dancing around in a circle. They're holding each other's tail in the trunk. So they've created like a circuit. They're
Yeah.
dancing in a circle. Okay. And they're singing happy birthday. So do you see them dancing in a circle?
Yeah.
The three.
In cartoon form,
That's fine.
um,
That's fine. Yeah.
with tutus around them.
Uh-huh.
And
See, there you
and
go.
when you said dancing, straight away they started wearing tutus.
Exactly, right? And
And
they're singing happy birthday.
so I can see, the not treble clef, the notes.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah, so I can see animated notes in the air.
Okay.
When
Now,
I noticed, yeah,
tell me if you can close your eyes again. Now, see them dancing. Now, they're singing happy birthday. Now, tell me, do you hear them singing happy birthday? Or do you hear happy birthday in your mind?
well, no, I know that they're singing happy birthday, even though they're just going, "No."
Okay, so now I'm gonna give you a different command. Sing happy birthday in your mind right now. Hear what it sounds like in your mind. Can you hear it? Yeah. How are you hearing inside of your mind without hearing something that's outside of you? See how
My,
amazing these things are? Contemplate this. How do we hear sound without hearing it externally?
it's like
Right?
my
And
memory.
I said, yeah, well, what's a memory? Because you can also change how you hear happy birthday. I could say, sing happy birthday in your mind and start to distort it like you've got one of those keyboards that has the little roller that goes, and I could tell you, hear happy birthday in your mind and then make it go, happy
Okay.
birthday to you. And you can do that in your
Yeah.
mind. So it's not a memory that you're accessing. You
Mm,
are literally creating sound
rating. Yeah.
inside of
Mm.
whatever it is. We don't know what the
Mhm.
mind is really. We don't know where it is. We don't know how it works really. We don't know if it has to do with plasma, photons, all these things. We don't know for sure, right? But what's important, I feel, is to start to recognize the profoundness of these little details that seem so obvious that most people have never realized or thought about in their life. How do I make sound inside my mind? How do musicians sit down, especially like savant children who've never taken a lesson in their life? how do they sit down and just suddenly start to play some amazing, mind-blowing piece? They say that they hear something in their mind, right? So all of these things really start to help us comprehend uh, what vision actually is and how blindfold practice can help us to comprehend what this human body actually is capable of, which is really cool.
Yeah, really
which
cool.
gi-
Really cool.
which gives us more access to working with it, like we thought we knew it. We thought we knew where all the buttons were, but now we're realizing, oh, there's more buttons. We can push
Yeah.
more buttons in the elevator.
Brilliant.
So, yeah.
Oh,
So that was
awesome.
fun. You did
Thank
great. You did
you.
really great.
Thank
You
you
also
so
even
much.
got, I want to just acknowledge that you even got the welded metal. There's like some kind of copper or something that's different from this metal. And can you see that? It's like
Yeah.
attached right here to this one part. And then you also, I think you saw something that had to do with ridges, but maybe it was
It was
this.
that. I could see
Yeah,
that.
that's what it
Yeah.
was. Because I was seeing what you were seeing in my mind, but I was like, wait a minute, I see what she's seeing, but it's not the bowl, but she's seeing something and I see the same thing. And I didn't remember that it was this.
Wow. That's what I also wanted to experiment with, the telepathy, you know.
So imagine this, a remote viewer is remote viewing, and someone else is telepathically seeing what the remote viewer is seeing. And then another person is telepathically seeing you could have the telephone game through bunches of telepathic people.
Beautiful. We're all one, right? It makes sense.
You've probably had this experience before, but when you start with like a new ability, things will unlock day by day. After 3 nights of sleep, something changes in the subconscious windows
Simulation.
where patterns will shift, right? And so if you do it's like a domino effect, like unlock, like one program changes in the subconscious and it spreads like a domino effect to the rest of the subconscious, right? So when you start doing the blindfold seeing, you will notice every day things shifting in the way you perceive things, in the way you remember things. And what I love that I find very fascinating is that every time you do the blindfold visioning, memories from your past will suddenly arise that you have not thought about since you were 3 or 5 or 7. And you might start to remember moments where something very phenomenal happened that you didn't have concepts or words to explain. So you don't remember it because it doesn't register in your logic mind. But when you have an experience in the blindfold seeing, your mind will then associate that with the
I thought you lost internet.
Yeah. So what I was saying was that the brain, the logic brain really can like only perceive things that it has a comprehension of. Right? So when we have these experiences, then it's like a it's like a matching puzzle piece will be drawn to it from an experience in the past that was the same or similar. Like unlock people's potential because it's one thing to be like, oh, I'm learning this ability now. Oh, I've got to practice, I've got to get better. But when you was 7 and then you realize, oh my God, this is who I am, right? It like expands your realization about yourself is that it gives you access to more of yourself and recognition that this is natural. This is your birthright. You were born like this already. And that the practice is not about learning, it's about reconnecting and realizing what you are.
You know, I have the same experience practicing Qigong. what you were
Exactly.
describing. You were
Yeah.
describing that, you'll have a flash of an image of something, and then you can tie it back into the past, but get a realization of it. Or it's like when we go into certain altered states, either by cutting off our senses, by
Yeah.
blindfolding ourselves, or by using Qigong state, putting the mind, combining it with the Qi instead of with the thoughts or the body
Oh,
sensations,
yeah.
then you're accessing this non-local realm where
Yes.
time you can put it's, they say that the amount of ratio of time that we're consciously aware is so tiny compared to the all-knowing subconscious realm where everything is seen and recorded and known. And then by doing these practices that put us into that brainwave state, then we have access to the all that we are, that is
Exactly.